Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Sterling Live. My name is Caitlin Brower. I'm Sterling's Director of PR and Social Media, and I'm also your host of Sterling Live. We have another great episode lined up for you today. I don't know if any of you saw my LinkedIn post earlier in the week. This is a topic that I've been wanting to talk about for so long, so we're finally here and we get to talk about this. So I'm really excited to introduce my guest today. We have Christina Johansen, Director of Concierge at Sterling, and our topic is on the bottom of the screen. We're going to talk about how you can create a seamless drug testing experience with clinical and random program concierge. So, Christina, thank you for joining me today. We'll dive into a little bit of background of you and this product a little bit in just a little bit. But I wanted to remind our audience, if you are watching live right now on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, if you have any questions for Christina throughout the episode, please go ahead and pop them in on the comment section across these three platforms, and I will get them over to her as I see fit throughout the episode. So before we get started, Christina, I would love for you to share a little bit more about your role and how the idea of providing a white glove concierge service, came about. Why was there a need for something like this?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Caitlin, for having me. And thank you to everybody participating. It's good to speak with everybody and share a little bit about concierge. I just want to say how thrilled I am as well to talk about concierge and just really appreciate the opportunity. As for my role, so I oversee our concierge department as a whole. And luckily, with a great team behind me of both leaders and employees, we can help fulfill the needs of the clients we partner with, working as an extension of them to help onboard their candidates, walking them through the process step by step. As far as the history of concierge, one of the many great things about our Sterling organization is the passion and drive that we have for supporting our partners and offering the right solutions for their needs. And to our knowledge, we're actually one of the very few background companies that have integrations directly with labs for blood testing services. So, definitely drug, but we actually have that direct connection with the labs for blood testing services. And if we take a step back in time where it all began about 5 years ago, there was a large acute health system who facilitated and managed their drug and health screenings in-house themselves through their employee health area. However, they noticed they started experiencing the loss of too many candidates because of the time that it was taking to have these services performed in-house. And it was actually, they were seeing at times up to 3 weeks. So that's a lengthy period of time to try to onboard and get through this process. And this organization wanted to partner with Sterling and have their drug and blood tests done through us, which actually led to us creating an environment that supports the end-to-end process and all that was involved from the beginning of generating the authorization, so they have that in hand to complete the required services, and then completely through to working with the follow through with the testing sites and any clinics that they were having the services performed at to actually obtain these results quickly, right? You have the beginning where the candidate has and knows everything that they're supposed to do, and then just that follow through and getting closure for the testing that they had completed. So that was actually the beginning of concierge. And then moving into 2020 with the pandemic, there became even more of a need for this type of support. And really since then, just additional needs have been identified, and we've been able to continue to evolve in the concierge support offering available, that we're just constantly implementing new ideas, customizing our programs, and being able to meet the needs of our clients. So great growth that we've seen here throughout.
It's definitely been a successful journey for sure. And, really eye-opening experience from that particular client. I know that's one of our most powerful case studies that we have, really kind of seeing that data behind it of what, the special kind of need that they had. And Sterling came in there to support. So here we are, almost 4 years later, and we've got a lot going on. So, so with that story that you had just shared, I want to, bring up something that's definitely like top of mind for many people right now. We're going to talk about, finding top talent. There's a lot of competitiveness out there. But then with that too, a positive candidate experience, pre and post hire. It's something we're all talking about for sure. So looking into healthcare, manufacturing, and transportation, it's an ongoing challenge to find this top qualified talent. And there's a shortage of skills workers. So can you talk about the competitiveness here of finding that top talent and having both a quick and positive candidate experience, especially during drug and health screening? Why is that important to securing the best candidates?
Yeah, absolutely. To start off, just to share a couple of stats about around current challenges that are definitely eye-opening. It is a hot topic out there right now. State of hiring and background screening in healthcare actually reported that 47% of healthcare HR leaders shared that talent shortages have been most disruptive to their workforce. In that same report, 32% also reported having a turnover rate between 21 to 40%. So big numbers, significant numbers. And then taking a look at, the industrial space, Hiring Reimagined Industrial Special Report had shared that 50% of HR professionals in the manufacturing and transportation sector said they just cannot find enough qualified candidates for the roles that they need to fill. We've definitely touched on a handful of the industries, but we know it's out there and impacting so many areas that are looking to hire. The job market is tough. There's a lot of opportunities out there. Being able to onboard your candidates with a seamless and easy experience as quickly as possible, taking all that into consideration, is extremely crucial, not just for you as the employer, but also for your future employees as well. And candidates would drop off during the drug and health screening process specifically because they just weren't completely clear on all the next steps that were required to complete these screenings. They weren't able to locate a qualified and convenient location to complete the testing, or also they just couldn't wait for the estimated time anticipated at a testing facility to be able to go in and get their required testing completed. Every candidate counts in the hiring process, and having a positive candidate experience can make a big difference in helping to prevent candidates from dropping out. These individuals already have the stress and the pressures of looking for their next job opportunity, securing it. The last thing you want to do is make things any more complicated for them to onboard. You want to make it as simple as possible.
Yeah, it was critical for us to run that survey to really kind of find out where HR professionals were at, but then also kind of that job seeker candidate mentality as well. Why were you dropping off? What is the need right now to find these critical roles that we're all having difficulties, to fill? But even with that report, being, a year or so old, we're still hearing this from current clients as well as we continue to ask the same questions to see what the landscape looks like.
Yeah.
So with these conversations, there clearly is a need for something like clinical concierge. So let's talk about concierge and how this unique service has helped companies streamline their drug testing programs.
So in many organizations, managing and facilitating the drug and health screenings section of the onboarding on top of everything else does actually fall under the TAs or the HR partners, right, within the programs that we support today. And we can definitely appreciate what this means given all the other responsibilities that they may have. And concierge can take on the workload that comes along with your drug and health screenings, allowing you to really take that time given back to you and focus on other areas of need. And what's really impressive about concierge is that every program we support and continue to support is designed to match each client's unique clinical program requirements. We get it. It is not one size fits all. And concierge has evolved to offer varying services for support for you to choose from based on your needs. What is it that actually comes into your onboarding process that you may have something that the next, competitor may not have, and it's a requirement. So we want to make sure that that's met. Just to touch on a few of the offerings that we have available, it's a la carte for you to choose. Again, depending on what your needs are. We have the registration of services. So that is actually identifying a qualified and convenient location and testing site for an individual to go into, creating the authorization for the services they need to have. And with having over 17,000 available clinics nationwide now with the Bell acquisition, there's just so many to choose from. So definitely makes it a lot smoother process to identify a testing facility for an individual. Then you move into monitoring and managing all open orders of the services that get registered. So the individual now has the next steps that they need to do. Well, what's happening? We're checking in to see what's going on. Have they gone in to complete their testing? Do they need assistance chasing down the results? Again, kind of that end-to-end process. This is a little bit of the in-between here of, okay, they know what they need to do. Now what's happening with it? We offer customer support for both our clients and their candidates, and this is via email and phone. So we have instances that maybe your candidate has a need to go to a different testing location. Something's arisen, they're going to be out of town. Oh my gosh, can I change where I'm going to get this completed? I need a different authorization. Maybe they have a question, on what they're expected to do. They don't quite understand it. We want to help them, educate them, make sure they're clear on what's expected and next for them to complete. Or maybe they're actually on site at a testing site and, certain things arise. They go to a clinic, systems down, they're unable to support us. We had the big outage that happened earlier this week, and now I need to go to a different location. They're having some challenges when they're on site, and we're that real-time support that they can just reach out to instead of having to go to their HR contact or TA. And then on top of that, we actually have what we classify as document review services, especially with many of our healthcare partners. They're healthcare professionals, so they've gone through this before, and maybe they've had some testing completed. So if your program honors this, we can assist with reviewing and validating documentation of results from prior testing that they've had to see if it adheres to your organization's criteria at this time. Another piece of this is we can identify positive TB or tuberculosis or non-immune titer results to coordinate next steps for follow-up services a candidate may need to further validate the testing results that have come through. So a slew of offerings, and it really has built since we evolved. We really started with the registration of services and then a little bit of chasing results, and we've grown into such a full suite of products available, again, to be able to make sure we can support the various needs that our clients may have for their requirements.
A lot of offerings for sure. And clearly we're thinking of a lot of different scenarios that clients can be going through, their candidates can be going through. So again, a lot of offerings, but truly that unique value to what your organization needs. And we're definitely seeing that, with, current clients that are taking advantage of Clinical Concierge. And I know we talked about a client earlier. We started the show with that, success story. But Christina, what are some other successes that the team is seeing, when implementing Clinical Concierge?
I'm overjoyed with the success of this program. I have to say, I could probably go on and on. So to narrow it down to just a couple here, in lieu of time here.
We have time. Take 2 hours to talk about the success.
I could go on and on. Well, just to give you an example of a program supported, it was a large not-for-profit acute health system. And they reported that prior to Concierge, their candidates went from starting work 22 business days after accepting their offer. So it's a good chunk of time. And it actually went down to just under 2 weeks once implementing Concierge, with an average background check and drug and health screening turnaround time going from 22 days to 3.3 days. So big improvement there for them. And they were overjoyed as well with the success. As I shared earlier, we work as an extension of you. And many of our clients are extremely pleased with the fact that they actually have a dedicated team within Concierge who learns and knows, lives and breathes their program in and out versus having to reach out to various counterparts. Maybe, when they were supporting this, they're having to contact, the different labs, the different clinics, the different vendors. They have one centralized location. And again, it's a dedicated team to their program that they can reach out to instead of the various counterparts or general support area. We really work with our teams to get as close as possible, and they are acting as if on behalf of the client and the organization of whose program we're running. It's important that we handle these candidates with care, all while adhering to what the client requirements are. And then just to share some quick information about our adoption rate, which always gets me pretty excited and grinning from ear to ear. The adoption rate from when we started to now is just so kind of near and dear to my heart. We ended in 2020 with 10 client programs. And by the end of 2021, we actually increased the programs managed by 60%. Fast forward to 2022, we increased by 13%. And then in 2023, we actually jumped up and increased the numbers of programs we support by 67%. Looking at current state for 2024, between numbers we are, as of today, supporting, along with ones that we actually have for implementations in progress, we expect to end 2024 with an increase by about 40% compared to last year. So we're just continuing to see that growth. We continue to learn, improve, enhance, innovate, again, to touch that unique need that you may have for your program.
Those are some amazing numbers to hear. So, hats off and congratulations to you and the team. We love to see that adoption rate, get much, much higher. So let's, we'll aim even further going into 2025 for sure. But I think that's great. And I also think too, outside of, the client success stories, there's other success factors as well that we're seeing as a team. So really good to, again, hear all of that success. But with the success of Clinical Concierge, we've also uncovered a need for replicating this service for Random Program. So, Random Concierge. So this is relatively a new service for the manufacturing, transportation, and healthcare industries. So can you talk a little bit more? And again, we understand it's relatively new, but can you talk a little bit more on Concierge for Random Programs?
Yes. So this is, like you said, relatively new. We actually launched this last year. And in addition to having pre-employment requirements, many organizations, especially those with DOT positions, they have employee requirements related to drug screenings for their existing employees. And this is managed through a random program where employees are randomly selected throughout the year for a random drug and or alcohol screening. So similar to our Clinical Concierge program, we're able to take on the oversight and management of the administration and tasks that come along with our client's random program, offloading our clients, having them refocus on other areas. And this applies to on-site and off-site events that a client may require, still kind of saying with that same tune of your unique program. That's really, really important to us. And I think what helps kind of set us apart is that we want to mirror and follow and adhere to obviously your exact needs. We're taking this off of your plate and we want to make sure we're mimicking your organization's criteria. While it is still relatively new, we have received some good feedback so far. Some have shared that there's a relief from the tedious steps it takes to oversee a random program and all of its moving parts, such as the oversight of the selections, the coordinating of the testing. As I mentioned, this may be on-site, this may be off-site. If it's off-site, you are basically creating a registration and authorization and giving that to the employee. But on the flip side, if it's on-site, you're introducing a third party, that there's more and additional coordination that has to occur because you need to have them come to your location for the testing to happen. In addition to that, the communication that happens with managers and supervisors about employees selected, along with the monitoring progress of meeting their annual test rates. So it was a mouthful, but just all of the tasks that come along with it, as I mentioned, they're tedious. So it was a big relief of work that was able to be offloaded from a lot of the program managers that we're supporting. Additional feedback we received, implementing Concierge was eye-opening for one organization on the lack of oversight for progress of completion of testing. They didn't even realize they had until we stepped in and were doing our reporting and giving them the communication of here's your updates, here's where you're at. It just hadn't been uncovered or recognized until they brought in Concierge. And then lastly, another organization actually shared that they identified a gap in their communication from program owners, so those who were responsible for the random program, to communicating with their managers and supervisors about what the random program process was. So this actually helped improve their training and education with all leaders to ensure that everything was consistent. Everybody, we had a clear understanding, knew what to expect. And those last two really just, they got uncovered after implementing Concierge. So it was pretty neat to hear that. And that these clients were willing to share, the gaps that had been identified.
I must say, anything taking away manual and tedious work is the best thing ever. So I can only imagine what our current clients that have implemented this are feeling. They're probably so happy and just, that weight is lifted off their shoulders, like you had said. But even hearing feedback and just knowing that we can make this service, better, and we can adapt and we can innovate. So getting this feedback is truly, truly important from our clients.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I want to take a quick moment. Again, so much has been shared on this episode, and it's really informative. I love it so far. If you are, again, watching live on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, if you have any final questions for Christina, please go ahead and pop them in the chat now. But as we wait for any final questions to come through, I would just love to get, your final thoughts as we wrap up, on clinical and random program Concierge.
Unless you're in the nitty gritty, and this applies to so many things, I get it. But unless you're in the nitty gritty of the drug and health screening process, the complexities, the unforeseen items that can arise, they're just unknown. It may seem so simple and straightforward. You think about it sometimes. I equate this to, you go for your annual physical and your doctor says you have to get this, this, and this done. They give you a piece of paper, you go in. It really does. It seems so simple and straightforward. But there's just so much more to it than meets the eye. And Concierge helps to fill any of these gaps and unknowns, keeping a close eye on the progress of your candidate's journey, all while keeping you informed and up to date along the way. I'm incredibly honored to be a part of Sterling's Concierge team and extremely proud of the team members who do what they do day in and day out with care to make our clients' programs successful and help the candidates onboard with ease. We are flexible and adaptable. We're able to pivot and shift to your unique needs and any changes that arise or come up. And I'd like to say, if there's a process within your program that isn't supported by any of the functions I mentioned earlier, we'd love to hear from you and see how we may be able to help. We, like the rest of the Sterling organization, we celebrate new and innovative ideas to come up with a solution for you. And a couple just very new things that we recently operationalized for two clients. Is something we hadn't done before, but they had a need, and we realized, hey, let's again offload that burden from you, and we were able to walk through, vet the process, understand clearly what it was that was needed, and then we were able to create a function to support them, and that is supplying masks to candidates for their respirator fit tests, because a mask is required when they're going in, and some employees provide that to their candidates, and we want to be able to support that for you. And then secondly, we actually launched the administration of substance abuse professional resource letters. So that is specifically with DOT and even with non-DOT programs or positions. You're responsible as an organization to send out this letter offering of resources available for an individual when a non-negative drug result comes back. So these are just examples, for these clients. We listened, we heard them, and we executed an offering to alleviate them from maintaining ownership. So, we'd love to hear from you. If there's something that we can get creative to help support you, please don't hesitate to reach out.
It's a truly incredible offering for sure. So, okay, we did get a question in. It's a long one. I gotta see what the question looks like here. Oh, honestly, it's just a shout out. So I love this shout out. It's just saying this is amazing detail. I do have to say this year alone, I've seen such a difference in how quickly background and drug screenings come back. Used to be 2 weeks, almost down to a week or a week and a half. Thank you, Concierge team. So honestly, thank you so much for that shout out on LinkedIn. We truly appreciate that. Like I had said, an incredible offering and a lot of really good details on today's episode, going into the nitty gritty of it and really understanding, how can it support healthcare, manufacturing, transportation. So thank you, Christina. I really appreciate it. And as you said, reach out if you'd like to understand how this can help your organization, even if it's something that we didn't say on today's episode. You can reach out. You can learn more on our website. So if you go to sterlingcheck.com, you can reach out to us on our corporate LinkedIn channel if you're there. You can reach out to the team, any of our team members, to learn a little bit more. But really, really amazing episode. Again, I've been waiting to do this for so long. I'm so excited. We'll have to start prepping for part 2. You were an incredible guest. You gave so much good information. So I think right now we'll start prepping for part 2. But I want to thank our guest, Christina, for joining us today, and for our live audience. And if you are watching on demand, we always appreciate your viewership. But with that being said, Christina, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Sterling Live.
Yes, thank you so much.
Of course. And thank you, everyone. We'll catch you on the next episode.